This is what we want. This is what we want. No, no, not that. This is what we want. This is what we want. No, 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 not that. This is what we want. And just do it. You don't know this, but Andy Armstrong is a former president of the Barbados Chamber of Commerce. It's a civic organization. I am the president of the HOLETOWN Chamber of Commerce. It's a civic organization. What that means is you come and talk to us. We are people you can come and talk to, saying we want this to happen, and we get involved. We organize people. Your group organizes people. Your group organizes people. We're about collaboration. It's not about competition now, people. This is about us collaborating on every aspect. Somebody beautifully said, it's about the children. I am 57. I've already let my kids know as far as life goes. If I'm lucky, if I'm blessed, I got 20 more years. So these 20 years are for his children, not even for him anymore. We got to start thinking about our grandchildren. It's not about tomorrow, next week, to pay a check next month. It's about our grandchildren. What are we leaving for our grandchildren? That's what I want us to think about. Last thing I'm going to say, I was going through some of my dad's photographs, and I came across a photograph of my elder brother. He must have been about 2 or 3. He was still in diapers, from what I can tell. And he was on that beach directly in front of Discovery Bay as it was now being built. I want you to know that what is now a swamp, maybe a body of water, that was once 100 meters wide. The guys from HOLETOWN old me tell me they used to swim in there, snorkel in there, drive a jet ski up in there, canoe in there. It was a body of water that was pristine, inspiring. Whenever people walk over that bridge, they look in the water, they want to see life. It's the human nature, they want to see life. And by the way, the British went into that river. That is what's called, that was the hole that allowed them to come into the country. So that's why it's called HOLETOWN, because it was a hole that allowed them to get into the country, where it was obviously overgrown, and this one place was safe, easy place, easy way for them to get into the country and land and bring off goods, etc., etc. Long and short, I love HOLETOWN. I love the feeling of HOLETOWN. I moved here literally 2 months ago from Fort Lauderdale. What you're talking about, high rises are everywhere. When I land in Barbados, that's what I get. And I know that's what these visitors, our new family, that's what they get. When they come here, they escape that first world concrete jungle where there's a tree every 200 meters. And they come here and they go, let's keep that. Let's keep that. Let's keep that.
And I want to say one thing.
Right, to the mic, it's open.
Okay.
Feel free.
If you lose this, you will never, ever get it back. You must demonstrate and be heard.
Johan Satar to speak to us. A big round of applause for Johan Satar. He looked like 16.
Hello everyone, I sound like 16. Thanks for letting me speak. When I hear about issues like this, my head is getting real hot. And what happens next is that we move slightly. So I actually have another matter that is similar to this going on in Brighton, where I live. And to avoid the expletives that would potentially come up with, I actually have, let me stand close to the microphone and see if there's feedback, but I actually have an article prepared here that I am going to read to you so you get an idea that this is not just happening here or Joe's River, it is all over the country. I mean, my question is, why are we allowing this to happen? Because if we were in a WhatsApp group chat with these so-called powers that probably shouldn't be at this point, you would see integrity has left the chat, right? And what you allow is exactly what continues, so we cannot allow this. Now, late in October of 2024, rumors started spreading in Brighton that a particular developer, and let's call him Developer X, had purchased the property in Brighton, and it became a topic of neighborhood gossip because what actually happened was it was bought by a Canadian businessman, but that's not really relevant. The fact of the matter is that it was acquired by this developer. And so through that channel of gossip is the only way that we, the residents, actually found out that there would be any construction of the high-rise condominiums. Now they want to do 4 stories on a piece of property that is as close to the beach as this, right? Makes no sense to me. Eventually, the topic died down, and so nothing else was said about it until about the day of December 3rd, when a team showed up and trees were cut down and removed from the property. Now, as many as 10 trees or more that were there for at least 70 years were removed, including casuarina trees, coconut trees, pride of Barbados, breadfruit, plum trees, and more, all of which were a habitat for wildlife. Now, cutting of trees is a violation of the Barbados Environmental Protection and Management Act. So many of those trees that were cut down were protected, and even the previous owner was told it was illegal to cut down those trees. You can only trim them a little bit. On December 29th, a construction team then showed up unannounced and demolished the buildings on that land. Again, prior to this, there was no notice that was officially given to the neighborhood. No signs were erected announcing the development. There was no warning and no chance for discussion. Now, during this demolition, no screens were erected to block the dust, at which point it billowed into the sea and into our homes, causing respiratory distress in several neighbors. And when I say distress, I mean asthma attacks and allergic reactions. Note that as we are currently speaking, the asthma and the allergies, as well as burning eyes and blurred vision, are continuing to the present day. So, according to the Barbados Building Code, there are guidelines which state that screens, barriers, or fences are required if the construction site is in a populated area, and may also be required for sites in proximity to roads or pedestrian areas to prevent accidents or unauthorized access. The existing fence that is there now was not erected until after the demolition was completed. So up until this point, no one can confirm for us, the residents, whether an environmental impact study has even been conducted. We have tried, and nobody wants to talk about the issue. And so therefore, we are left standing still wondering, okay, well, what exactly is going on? Now, along with the trees as a flourishing habitat for wildlife, including several species of birds, a thriving sea turtle nest has been destroyed on the beachfront and covered over with stone, which, as I stated before, is a violation. Now, the Environmental Protection and Management Act requires that an environmental impact assessment be done prior to determine the effects on the surrounding environment. So that includes the air, water, land, and biodiversity. It also outlines pollution control, which includes air and water quality and waste management. And that also includes the proper disposal of hazardous waste. Now, the Act provides for the conservation of Barbados' natural resources, including the marine resources, forests, and wildlife. This Act also sets out penalties for violating environmental regulations. Individuals or businesses that fail to comply with environmental standards may face fines, sanctions, or other legal actions. Enforcement mechanisms are supposed to be put in place to hold offenders accountable and ensure compliance with the Act. And now I can say, somebody might say it might be my perspective or speculation, but I like an eagle, and I have not seen anyone come to hold these developers accountable for what they're doing.
That's correct.
The excavation continued on that site, at which time a deep foundation was dug up and seawater started to come up out of the sand. It looks like a swimming pool. This area of Brighton is a very short distance from the shoreline, similar to this. And during rough seas, even outside of the hurricane season, the waves bash up against our walls and come down the driveway, and seawater is normally absorbed by the sand back into the flow of water underneath the sand. Now, there is currently, like I said, a swimming pool of water on this construction site. And why is that not a good thing? Because on that property, there were 6 suck wells, which were not emptied prior to excavation. And there were Chinese laborers living in the houses there up to a week or so before the demolition. The excavator was used to dig up the wells. Now, developer X was brazen enough to say that the septic tanks were taken out. When we have it on camera, because he did it right in front of everybody, we know that it did not occur. So the original buildings were erected in 1938. Can you tell me where they would get septic tanks in 1938? So therefore, any water that is there is contaminated with you know what.
That's right.
And a worker, I believe me, see where this table is set up? We're standing right in front of me that distance from me and said to another big man that is there, shh, water in there. Understand that deeply. Alright? Once you say that, I'll be all there. Now, Developer X even said that we should contact the Environmental Protection Department. So is he basically saying that he was given permission to completely destroy the environment? That's my question. I hardly think so. It is a fact that at that previous development in Brighton near Rascals, the water was being pumped from underneath the building into a soakaway on the beach side and across the road into the swamp and into people's yards, by the way. And it is in fact still continuing to be pumped underneath the surface of the sand on the beach side in an alleged soakaway. Now, we were informed by a worker that a tank also comes to collect water from that building. On January 16th, the Coastal Zone Management Unit was called, and some people came to take pictures, and when we called and questioned about it, we were abruptly told that just because the water is brown, it does not mean that it's contaminated. Which, according to science on the matter, is not an appropriate response. We have been vigilant, like I said before, I got eye like an eagle. And we have been watching to see if anyone has come to test the water for contamination. And we have not seen anything as yet. No one has said anything. Now I say that because if something has been done, say so. Inform the residents. Be transparent. Also on January 16th, the construction team showed up here with large pipes, signaling the intent to install sink pipes to pump the water into a soakaway under the sand on the beach side, which will be sucked into the sea due to the movement of the tides, as the area where the pipes were buried is only a few feet from where the water washes up. Now, the construction team showed up with the excavator January 27th and came down our driveway and destroyed both private and public property by digging with the excavator. Now, it is common sense that permission was not given to them to dig on the property. The workers were very rude when they were asked what they were doing and who gave them permission to be on our property. And one worker in particular was very aggressive, saying that he wasn't on our property while literally having his feet planted within our boundary line. The Nation newspaper was called that day and immediately came down to report on it. And the workers, who were hesitant to answer any questions, told the Nation that they were building a better beach access and they would be done in 10 minutes. So what they really meant was they were creating access for them to take the excavator onto the public beach. It did not take just 10 minutes. It actually took them the whole day until after 3 p.m. to dig up the sand and replace it with marl and stone. Now get this part. Digging up the beach is a violation.
That's right.
And so is operating heavy machinery on the beach. In front of one of the houses on the beach site was also destroyed by the excavator. And in our driveway, the marl and stone is piled up about 2 feet in some places against our walls, dirtying our walls. The stone and marl is being dragged out onto the beach and is getting closer and closer every day to the shoreline. And it will soon end up in the sea, in light of the rough seas that we have experienced already for the year. So what will happen during hurricane season? I feel they should be made to remove the stone and marl and put sand back there. It is dangerous to walk barefoot on sharp rocks. I watched an older gentleman going to the beach two mornings ago, 2 weeks ago I should say, in the morning early. And he almost fell, and he was wearing shoes. Now fortunately he was able to get his balance back, but I was trying to run to give him some assistance and I could not because sharp rocks on my feet. Now on that same day of the 27th though, they did install the pipes, further signaling the intent to pump potentially contaminated water into the soakaway underneath the sand on the beach. So that day, I called brass tacks and I spoke about the issue, at which point the next day, they came and they hauled away the excavator, and construction has been at a standstill since. Now, on February 5th, some individuals who were dressed as construction workers, I have to use those terms so I don't want to accuse anybody, but they showed up and they attempted to break open the metal grate on the road which protects the hydrant. But only Barbados Water Authority can do so, which is a very strange occurrence to say the least. So I will leave y'all's imagination to that. What were they doing that for? Now, I could actually go on and on for the whole evening about a lot of things, But one thing that I want to say is that the majority of people, when you tell them all this, is you can't stop them is big fish. Which is interesting to me because I was walking on the beach and I was angry that somebody said that to me. And when I got in front of Pile Bay, I saw two fellas dragging a 5.5 foot long shark over the sea. I said, that's a pretty big fish. So, I think that is an incorrect perspective, you see. But what I want to say is that according to psychology, that is called learned helplessness. That is my profession, by the way. So, why do we have this attitude of learned helplessness? There's always a solution to every challenge if you want to look for it. And I believe that that is what we are here to do today. So in every instance where authorities have been consulted on this issue, there has been a wall, dismissive responses, nobody wants to touch the issue, and all you get all the time is contact the authorities. And that's not helpful advice because we have done that. Nobody wants to talk about it. So I'm going to leave you with some key facts. The Town and Country Planning Act is supposed to ensure the development of the site aligns with zoning regulations and does not disrupt surrounding properties or the environment. If the construction site is near the beach, even more regulations are supposed to be in place. Where zoning regulations are concerned, in Brighton it was passed into law that you can't build above 2 stories in October of 2023, which means that prior to the purchasing of this land by the new owner in 2024, the laws were changed to prevent development of high rises. That's right. The Coastal Zone Management Act is a legislation aimed at managing the sustainable use of the coastal environment, which includes the protection of beaches and marine ecosystems. Special permits are often required for construction activities in sensitive coastal areas, including those where sea turtles are known to nest. Sea turtles in Barbados, including the hawksbill, green, and leatherback species, are listed as protected species. Construction activities are supposed to adhere to guidelines to avoid disturbing nesting sites. The NCC is also supposed to be monitoring the activity so that the things that have occurred here do not happen. If you are pumping water, for example, from a construction site, industrial facility, or drainage system, the water quality must meet certain standards. For example, it should be free of harmful chemicals, toxins, or other pollutants that could negatively impact the marine environment. Barbados is a signatory to international treaties such as the Convention for the Protection and Development of the Marine Environment of the wider Caribbean region, the Cartagena Convention, and its protocols, which aim to prevent marine pollution. Under these international obligations, discharging harmful substances into the sea is prohibited. Any pumping activities that may introduce pollutants into the marine environment would be subject to these laws, and the authorities would likely require an environmental permit and treatment of the water to ensure it complies with pollution control standards. Large volumes of water being discharged into the sea may have greater potential for disrupting local ecosystems, and failing to comply with these regulations are supposed to result in significant penalties, including fines, suspension of operations, or legal action. But from the looks of it, none of these rules are being adhered to, and asking questions about it, like I said, yields no answers or accountability. Now, I'm appealing to anyone who cares about Barbados to speak about this, because it is only a community effort at this point that will ensure that the guidelines are followed by these developers. Right. It's not fair to be talking about climate change and protection of the environment in one breath, and then in another breath, be allowing things like this to go on. Now, the matter of the water being pumped into the sea is even more serious in Brighton because you have the desalination plant right across the street. This is not good enough. Thanks for having me.
The much vaunted Savile Lord's Castle that was supposed to bring in all these jobs and all this money, what did they do? They start laying people off. And now I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, that they are now promoting it as a music venue and a conference centre because they cannot get enough people to come in and fill up the hotel rooms. So why are we going to get all these people coming in here and filling up all these hotel rooms? It's not, it's not going to happen. There is not enough demand. Town and planning. My fellow there with a hat, I can't remember his name, I asked him who. Mr. Brighton. Whoop. Yeah. Town and country planning. Town and country planning is supposed to be transparent. So every objection, every application is supposed to be posted online. They post the applications from the developers, but I don't see any objections, which all are supposed to be filed online. I am one of many people that objected to Gibbs Gully. I went on their website today, the planning application is there, there is not one single objection to that planning application. So if you were to look at it, you say, oh, well, no one's objected, then we'll go ahead and do it. So Mr. Dugan's probably gone home by now, but my question would be, why are those objections not being listed on the website? Because they are supposed to have been. So, you know, you can't say you're being transparent and you're being upfront and you're going to do this and you're going to do that. If you're not, you either are or you aren't. You can't have it both ways. But just trying to think, is there anything else I wanted to cover? No, other than you know, other than the fact that it wouldn't be HOLETOWN. If they put a 9-story hotel here, it will not be the HOLETOWN that most people know. Right? So, thank you very much for your time.
Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much for coming this evening, for your undivided attention, for the massive crowd that we would have had, for the impromptu speakers, for one being focused on our objective, and certainly as we conclude this evening, this is only that we are taking our pause for a good cause, because our next speaker will be appearing on the 9th of March in Gibbs Gully. Yeah. And of course, you know, this is part of our patronage, and our good friend here, that you can feel free to continue to patronize her, and feel free to purchase a gift as you leave for the evening. So I want to thank everyone for coming. Thank you again for your contribution, and just remember that we are only taking a pause, and we will restart with our next speaker, 9th of March in Gibbs Gully, where we will continue to let the people and the government of Barbados know where we stand with all these issues that are current in our country. Thank you very much for coming, and do have a wonderful evening. Don't forget, go to YouTube and just type in Africa Bridge TV, and you'll be able to zero in on what we call the Mercy Weeks show, that you can continue to enjoy and hear all the necessary updates. Do have a wonderful evening and make it home safe.
Character of HOLETOWN, and people won't want to come here. People can go to Jamaica, right? You can go to Jamaica for far less than you can come to Barbados, stay in a high-rise hotel. Why would people want to come here? Because, as it is, it's a lovely, beautiful place that still has character. It has things that no other island has. So why on earth do we want to take something like this and put up at some 9-story condominium? One of the things I haven't heard anything about is the economic benefit, quote unquote. I'm a photographer, I do houses, real estate developments, and I spend a lot of time on building sites, and I rarely hear a Bayesian accent on a building site. I hear Vincentians, I hear Guyanese, St. Lucian. So how is it that it's bringing work in? It's not bringing work to Bayesians, but mind you, these developers are offering $60 a day for a labourer, so I really can't blame you for not working. But the fact of the matter is, it's not bringing in money to local people. The only job that's going to create at the end of the day would be a maid or a gardener or so and so and so. The money that comes in, a lot of people have an offshore company, so the money doesn't actually come into Barbados. The only people that make any money are the developers, maybe somebody in government, but we won't go there. But it does not bring in loads of money to the economy. And why can we not find something else to do other than build bloody, excuse me, apartments or hotels. I mean, they're hideous. I mean, they work. What happened to Four Seasons? Where's Four Seasons at Paradise? Where's Nikki Beach? What happened to Nikki Beach? Nikki Beach was built, Nikki Beach went down. Paradise was started, Paradise went down. The much vaunted Saddlelords Castle that was supposed to bring in all these jobs and all this money, what did they do? They start laying people off. And now I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, that they are now promoting it as a music venue and a conference centre because they cannot get enough people to come in and fill up the hotel rooms. So why are we going to get all these people coming in here and filling up all these hotel rooms? It's not, it's not going to happen. There is not enough demand. Town and planning. My fella there with a hat, I can't remember his name, I asked him who. Mr. Brighton. Whoop. Yeah. Town and country planning. Town and country planning is supposed to be transparent. So every objection, every application is supposed to be posted online. They post the applications from the developers, but I don't see any objections, which all are supposed to be filed online. I am one of many people that objected to Gibbs Gully. I went on their website today, the planning application is there, there is not one single objection to that planning application. So if you were to look at it, you'd say, oh, well, no one's objected, then we'll go ahead and do it. So Mr. Dugan's probably gone home by now, but my question would be, why are those objections not being listed on the website? Because they are supposed to be. So, you can't say you're being transparent and you're being upfront and you're going to do this and you're going to do that. If you're not, you either are or you aren't. You can't have it both ways. But just trying to think, is there anything else I wanted to cover? No, other than other than the fact that it wouldn't be HOLETOWN. If they put a 9-story hotel here, it will not be the HOLETOWN that most people know. Right? So, thank you very much for your time.
Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much for coming this evening, for your undivided attention, for the massive crowd that...
To our most respected historian, Carl Watson, God bless his soul, and she came from Boscobel. They lived in Boscobel, they lived in St. Peter, so I really am a Barbadian of many cultures, but fundamentally, I'm a Bajan. This is my country. I do not like what is happening. We cannot keep giving up to people. I have friends from England, from all over the world, who come here on holiday, and I encourage them. And whenever they come back, they say, Barbados is really lovely. The authenticity of who we are is what draws people to this country. If you want hotels along the boardwalk, go somewhere else. This is where the tourists come because we are unique. We have something that is special. And nobody, I don't care who the government is, I'm not a political animal, but nobody should be able to say to us, you can't go on that beach. You can't have access. No, it can't happen. We've got to stop it. And we cannot sit down and think that other people are going to say it for us. We have to show up, put our hands up and say no, no. Okay? So that I just want to appeal to you on that level, because we don't want to disenfranchise our children and grandchildren. This belongs to them as well. And therefore we need to maintain who we are. Destroying part of our history is not right. We are a collaboration of cultures. We are a collaboration of our history. History is based on fact. Something happened, it's recorded. It's in the history book. Okay? So we need to manage ourselves better, to speak out, support these very brave people. Don't be fearful of speaking out. It's your country. If you don't speak out, it won't belong to you for very long. So please, I encourage you. I'm going to go back to where I live, but I don't want to sit there and read the Barbados News saying it's happened. They've knocked it down. This is horrible hotel is that. We need to be able to keep this going. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
But I've lived here for 32 years. My daughter was born here. I run a business here. I'm not a billionaire, I'm not a millionaire. In fact, I pretty much brag. But I live here and I love living here. So, first of all, lots of people have said something about changing the character of HOLETOWN, which this would. People do not come here to look at high-rise buildings. This is the only place on the West Coast for a long shot that you can actually get in your car, drive down, park, go for a bath, go to the bar, and go home. I keep a tiny little boat on the beach, and that's what I do sometimes. There isn't anywhere else to do it. So if they put a hotel here, what are people going to do? They're going to come and park in the back of the hotel. If they're lucky, they might get access to the beach. Maybe they won't get access. All the people that work here, Patsy, where's Patsy? Hello, Patsy. All the people that work on the beach, Patsy, the jet ski guys, the glass bottom boat guys, they all come in here, they park up, they do their business, and they go home. So all that will go. It's also a community centre. You've got a post office, you've got a police station, you've got a library. That's where people go and they do their business, and it makes it attractive. The back of a 9-story hotel is not going to have the same effect, right? So there's nowhere that people are going to go. It's going to take away